Tel Aviv, once alive with music, laughter, and the constant hum of city life, now sits in uneasy silence, its familiar rhythms disrupted overnight. The vibrant energy that once pulsed through its streets has been replaced by the ever-present shadow of conflict, leaving neighborhoods eerily quiet. The city's iconic beaches, usually crowded with sunbathers and laughter, and its bustling boulevards, once filled with the sounds of daily life, are now nearly deserted. Instead, the wail of air raid sirens and the distant roar of military aircraft have become the new, unsettling soundtrack of daily existence. Since June 2025, Tel Aviv has transformed into a frontline city, with military checkpoints and sandbag barricades now a common sight. Families keep go-bags by the door, ready to flee at a moment's notice, and children have learned the quickest routes to safety. Bomb shelters are mapped out in every neighborhood, their locations memorized by residents who never imagined needing them so urgently. The carefree spirit that once defined Tel Aviv has been replaced by a deep sense of vulnerability and uncertainty. Businesses struggle to survive, hotels stand empty, and the once thriving tourism industry, a lifeline for so many, has all but collapsed, leaving iconic sites eerily vacant. Parents do their best to shield their children from the anxiety, turning up the television to drown out sirens, offering reassurances they barely believe themselves. But the fear is palpable in every home, lingering in the air during family dinners and quiet moments alike. Young people, once dreaming of bright futures in a cosmopolitan city, now question what lies ahead in a place so suddenly defined by crisis and uncertainty. The conflict is no longer a distant headline, it's a daily reality that has shattered the illusion of safety and left scars on the city's collective psyche. Tel Aviv waits, caught in a tense limbo, its people holding on to hope even as they wonder how much worse things might get before they improve. The city holds its breath, longing for a return to normalcy, a sense of peace and safety that now feels further away with each passing day, yet remains the hope that unites everyone who calls Tel Aviv home. The crisis erupted in June 2025, when Israel launched a series of bold and highly coordinated airstrikes deep inside Iranian territory, marking a dramatic escalation in the long-simmering tensions between the two nations. These strikes specifically targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, aiming to cripple its nuclear ambitions and send a clear message to Tehran. The operation was not just a military maneuver, but a direct challenge to Iran's regional influence, and a public display of Israel's willingness to act unilaterally. Iran's swift and forceful retaliation came in the form of coordinated missile and drone attacks, not only on Israeli cities but also on a U.S. military base in Qatar, dramatically raising the stakes and testing the limits of regional security alliances. The Iron Dome missile defense system managed to intercept most incoming threats, but the psychological toll on Israeli civilians was immense. Air raid sirens became a daily reality, and the sense of vulnerability spread rapidly through the population. The United States, under President Trump, responded with stern warnings and threats of broader military action, deploying additional forces to the region and raising the specter of direct American involvement in the conflict. Rhetoric about regime change and targeting Iran's leadership only fueled the fire, sparking outrage on the streets of Tehran and hardening the resolve of Iranian officials to resist foreign pressure. Each aggressive move triggered an immediate counter-move, creating a dangerous and unpredictable cycle of escalation that threatened to spiral out of control. The region teetered on the edge of a wider war, with ordinary residents of Tel Aviv and other cities caught in the crosshairs, forced to seek shelter as the threat of further attacks loomed. What began as a targeted military strike quickly spiraled into a global flashpoint, sending shockwaves through international markets and dominating headlines around the world. The world watched anxiously as the threat of all-out war loomed larger each day, with diplomats scrambling to prevent further escalation and millions fearing what might come next. As the crisis deepened, Russia, Iran's key ally, responded with strong words but little action. President Putin condemned Israel's strikes and U.S. threats, warning of unpredictable consequences, and rallied diplomatic support at the UN. Russia's 20-year partnership with Iran provided Tehran with a crucial political shield, but not military aid. Despite Iran's requests for advanced weaponry, Moscow stopped short of direct involvement, focusing on diplomatic maneuvering. Behind the scenes, Iranian officials expressed frustration at Russia's limited support. For Russia, the conflict is a chance to challenge U.S. influence and distract from its own war in Ukraine, but a full-scale regional war is too risky. The alliance is carefully managed, with Moscow seeking to benefit from the crisis without being drawn in militarily. Russia's goal: manage the conflict, not escalate it, while maintaining its influence in the region. For Iran, the limits of this friendship are becoming painfully clear. Russia and China quickly presented a united front, calling for de-escalation and a return to diplomacy. Presidents Putin and Xi issued a joint condemnation of Israeli and American actions, warning of the dangers of further escalation. At the UN, they pushed for an immediate ceasefire, seeking to isolate the US and Israel and rally support from non-aligned nations. By positioning themselves as advocates for peace, Moscow and Beijing aimed to contrast their approach with Western aggression. Putin attempted to mediate, holding talks with both Israeli and Iranian leaders, with China's full backing. Western leaders, however, dismissed these efforts as self-serving and lacking credibility. The divide between East and West deepened, with each side accusing the other of exploiting the crisis. The path to genuine peace remained elusive as global mistrust overshadowed diplomatic efforts. For Tel Aviv's residents, global power struggles are not just distant headlines. They translate into daily fear, uncertainty, and constant disruption. The city, once bustling with energy and optimism, now finds itself on edge, its people forced to adapt to a new and unsettling reality. Air raid sirens dictate the rhythm of life, sending people scrambling for shelter at any hour, day or night. The shrill sound cuts through daily routines, reminding everyone that safety can never be taken for granted. Anxiety is ever present, especially for parents trying to comfort frightened children. In cramped shelters, families huddle together, hoping for the all-clear while trying to shield the youngest from the harshness of the world outside. Schools drill for emergencies, and the city's sense of security has been shattered. Teachers and students alike must learn to react quickly, turning lessons into life-saving practice. The economic toll is severe, tourism has collapsed, flights are suspended, and local businesses are suffering. Once crowded markets and lively streets now stand empty, as uncertainty keeps visitors and customers away. The tech sector, once booming, now faces deep uncertainty as investors pull back and employees are called to reserve duty. Startups pause projects, and innovation slows, as the city's economic engine sputters. Despite the hardship, Tel Aviv's people show remarkable resilience, supporting one another and longing for a return to normal life. Acts of kindness and solidarity shine through, even in the darkest moments. Conversations everywhere turn to the crisis, with hope for peace mingled with fear of what's next. In cafes, on street corners, and in living rooms, people share worries and dreams for a safer future. The city's vibrant spirit endures, but the strain is visible in every face. Fatigue and worry have become part of daily life, yet determination persists. For now, life continues under the shadow of sirens and uncertainty. Each night brings new challenges, but also a quiet resolve to persevere. The hope for a peaceful dawn remains, even as the nights grow longer. In the early morning light, Tel Aviv's residents look forward, holding on to the belief that better days will come. The crisis has escalated to the brink of a wider regional war, with the US, Israel, Iran, Russia, and China all entangled. Iran's attack on a US base signaled its willingness to target American interests, drawing the superpower deeper into the conflict. Rhetoric from leaders on all sides has only heightened fears of a catastrophic miscalculation. Russia's warnings of unpredictable consequences and China's calls for restraint underscore the nuclear stakes. The region faces multiple flashpoints, from Iran's threat to close the Strait of Hormuz to ongoing violence in Gaza. The world economy teeters as energy supplies are threatened, and the risk of global recession grows. The Middle East has become a proxy battleground for great power rivalry, with Tel Aviv at its heart. The danger of uncontrollable escalation is now a daily reality. The conflict is fought not just with weapons, but through diplomatic and economic moves on the world stage. The US and Israel coordinate military threats and sanctions, aiming to weaken Iran and deter its proxies. Russia and China counter with calls for a ceasefire and efforts to rally global opinion against Western intervention. Russia showcases its economic resilience, while Iran threatens to close the Strait of Hormuz, leveraging its power over global oil supplies. Iran also seeks to strengthen alliances with Russia, China, and the global South, using asymmetric tactics to push back. Each side maneuvers for advantage, trying to avoid all-out war while gaining leverage. For Tel Aviv's people, these distant power plays have immediate, terrifying consequences. Their fate is debated in faraway capitals while they endure the fallout at home. Tel Aviv faces a future clouded by uncertainty, with no easy path back to peace. The worst-case scenario is a catastrophic escalation, drawing the entire region into war and leaving civilians in constant danger. A prolonged stalemate is more likely, with life defined by tension, sporadic violence, and economic hardship. The most hopeful outcome, a diplomatic breakthrough, would require unprecedented cooperation among global rivals. For Tel Aviv's residents, the longing is simple: a return to normal life free from fear and conflict. Their fate rests in the hands of distant leaders, even as they bear the heaviest burden. They dream of a day when sirens are replaced by the sound of waves, and peace is more than a distant hope. Until then, they wait for a dawn that brings safety, not more uncertainty.